What do you say? What do you know? I hope everyone had a great week. We've got a lot to talk about. This is probably going to be one of my favorite episodes. Researched a lot of material. I hope you all had a great week. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you all enjoyed watching conference championship games. Best time of year. Great games to watch, all the way from the MAC all the way down. Great games. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked watching it. We've got a lot to talk about. It's a one-person podcast as usual, but give me comments. Give me what you think. I want to hear in the comments. There's a lot to talk about. So really excited. Really happy to shoot this episode. This is probably, I got a timer here on my phone to know when 30 minutes is up, so the camera doesn't auto shut off, because I'm trying to get this more than 20 minutes. So a lot of information. I'm excited. Looking forward to this. So much to discuss. We've got the Final Four. Last one of the year, last one of the time of the 4-year one, 4-team one. Next year's 12. Conferences go away. Pac-12 went away. Teams are leaving the SEC or Big 12 and going to the SEC. No more standings. A lot changes. Conferences aren't going to have standings anymore. They're going to have the two best teams. Rivalry games aren't going to mean as much. They're going to be bragging rights, but not as much. So we're going to really talk about what this 4-team playoff looks like, what a future holds for the 12-team next year, which I am so excited for. I cannot wait. My team would still be in it, so I am extremely excited. So this episode is going to be very informative on my opinion. I'd love to hear what you all think, the 4 should be. Hit up in the comments. Let me know. Somehow communicate to me, because that's what we're going to be going over. This is episode 20. We've come a long way. Episode 20. It's been enjoyable. It's been great. We started this, I want to say, first of the year. We made our predictions. So this is like my first official college football season. We're not done yet. We've got bowl games and the championship game, and I'm going to be communicating and doing a lot more videos as we go. We're going to do a college football video. So look forward to that. But it was fun. This was really nice. It was really fun and enjoyable. I know I didn't have any guest speakers, but this is growing pains. We're going to grow and keep growing this Bubcast. So I appreciate you all following me and giving all the shout outs. So let's dive into episode 20. We're going to go over the Final Four, and then we're going to review the playoff games. So just to go through some the games, go over the conference championship games. Liberty beat New Mexico State 49-35, and with that win, Liberty earned a New Year's Six Bowl. Congratulations to them, 12-0. Conference USA, first time Conference USA got a New Year's Six Bowl, and first time in Liberty's history that they're going to a New Year's Six Bowl. Congrats to them. They're playing Oregon. They're probably going to get run over, but it's great for the program, great for recruiting, great to have that team in there. I'm glad they did that. They're playing Oregon, so they won the Conference USA. Washington beat Oregon in a great game. I think it was better than the SEC championship game. That game was fantastic. Heart goes out to Bo Nix. He had a great college career. This is it for him. Kudos to him. He had a great college career. Really well done. Tough to see him lose that way, but it was a great game. Washington ended up beating Oregon twice in the year. And with that thing, Washington got number 2 in the playoff rankings. And they're going to play number 3 Texas. Number 4 Bama got in, and number 1 is Michigan. Texas dominated OSU to win the Big 12 49-21. They clinched the 3rd spot. Dilemma whether they should have gotten in or not. My opinion, I think they got it right. I think that Texas deserved to get in with a 1 loss to Oklahoma. Close game. They won out in the Big 12. They played Bama. They beat Bama. So if you're going to put Bama in with their 1 loss to Texas, if Bama's the 4th best team and Texas beat Bama, I think Texas gets in. I don't think there's discrepancy with that, in my opinion. I think Texas was the right call. If you're going to sit and split hairs, it should be why is an FSU in over Bama? But then are you going to take away an SEC champion, Bama, with 1 loss to Texas? It's very that 3-4, and I think the committee kind of shot themselves in the foot with the situation they had on what they were going to do. But let's get into that later. Let me go through these things, these games, and then we'll go over and discuss what I think about the Final Four. So just checking my time here. I don't want to go over. Organizational is key to success here at the Bubcast. All right, 5 minutes in. Bama beat Georgia in a thriller, 27-24. I think Georgia started off slow. I don't think their offense was there. I think Beck was a game manager. No touchdowns, really kind of just was there to maintain the game. I said prior episodes he needed to do more. He needed to be explosive. He wasn't. They started off slow. Bama shot him and punched him in the mouth. They really didn't know how to respond, and they ended up winning. I had Bama winning this game. I really thought Georgia had played games half speed most of the year. They blew out Ole Miss a lot of the times, and they didn't look good against Georgia Tech. They just had games where they were kind of sleepwalking, and I think they slept walk in the first half of the SEC championship game. And Bama did Bama things. They fell hard. They went from 1-6. Now, this will be the last time we're talking about 4 in, 4 not, because next year there's going to be 12. But do I think Georgia deserved to get in? I don't. I think that just like the Ohio State-Michigan game, losers done. If Michigan would have lost the Big Ten game, they would have been done. So Georgia lost. Unfortunately, it's undefeated, 1 loss, SEC champion, second place, but they got bounced. I think the drop was a little big. I think getting dropped from 1-6 was a lot. But when you look at what the committee did, I have a couple questions with that. But I don't think Georgia was ready to play. I think they slept walk through Georgia Tech, and it just showed. And I had Bama was on a high. That Auburn win was a high, because they know they lose that, it's done. But they had a high. And they rode that in. And you see Nick Saban's pregame speech. That pregame speech is intense. You'd want to run through a wall for him. So you look at that, and I kind of knew Bama was on that roll. That high energy to that Auburn win, that 4th and 31, that 4th and goal. And I think that was an X factor. And I had previously said that was going to be an X factor. So look out for Bama. It sucks for Georgia. I don't think any of their guys are going to play. They're gonna beat FSU wholeheartedly, because FSU probably is going to have their second string quarterback. It's probably not going to be a game. Guys are going to sit out, which is a natural thing to do when you're a college football player, and you're not going to has no additional access on your career with this bowl game. That's not necessary in some eyes. So I think Bama or Georgia wins out wholeheartedly, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about their bowl games in a couple episodes. We got some time off before the bowl games start. So Florida State survived. Michigan dominated. Let's go backtrack. Michigan dominated. No offense, Iowa. I have no idea what's going on in Iowa. You can't get 3 points. Their offense is that awful. Their punter gets worn out. It happens every year in the Big Ten. The Big Ten West is absolute garbage. Whoever they end up playing from the East gets run over. Florida State survived Louisville 16-6. Not a very good game. I think that's part of the reason why Florida State didn't get in was their performance in this game. Louisville's a 16 seed, and they scored 16 points. Now, mind you, I know their offense took a hit with a third-string quarterback. I get that. It's part of the game. While you play the game, they got to win, so hang that on them. But I just have a lot of questions with the FSU decision. I just think I always had thought this wholeheartedly, that the SEC thought that they're the greatest and they don't stink, and the SEC can pretty much get in no matter what. And I think that came to fruition with the SEC commissioner going on there saying no matter what, one of the SEC teams should get it. SEC over everybody. I get that the FSU plays in the ACC, and the ACC is pretty weak in some eyes. I as a fan, I like the ACC competition, but this year it was weak. We had Duke, we had Clemson. That Duke started out hot and then went ice cold. Clemson started cold and got hot and got pretty hot. So I can understand why the ACC versus the SEC, but I think FSU got more punished, and I think that the committee wasn't going to not take Bama. I figured when I saw Texas with 1 loss, Bama was going to get in once I saw Texas got in. Does it suck for FSU? Yeah, it does. Just a lot of questions. Let me know in the comments, do you think FSU should have been on the 4 seed and Bama should have got bounced? What kind of questions would we be asking if it was the other way around and Bama got out with a SEC championship and 1 loss versus a cakewalk ACC team that won 16-6? And barely got through Florida. Now, mind you, that was a tough game, regardless of Florida's record in the swamp. That's a tough game. So, a lot of questions. That's what this episode's about. Playoffs, who should got in, who didn't. To finish out the conference championship games, we'll go SMU beat Tulane 26-14. SMU played spoiler. Tulane got knocked out of the best remainder Conference 5. They would have played against Oregon, and I think it's a Fiesta Bowl. I just now looked at all the bowl games, and the bowl games are all set. Really excited for that. Going to talk all about the bowl games as they get released next couple episodes. But for now, we're just going to talk about the previews of Final Four. It just got released earlier this afternoon, I should say. And Miami of Ohio upset Toledo. I had Toledo. The Redhawks ruined it for me. Toledo their offense got shut down by our good defense. So Miami of Ohio won the MAC. So good for them. First time since 2019. So cheering on the Redhawks. Well, nicely done for the MAC. So those are your conference championship game winners. Great games all the way around. I think the ACC was pretty slow, but the SEC and the Big 12 was also a bummer. Oklahoma State got destroyed, but SEC looked good. I like that game, and I like the Pac-12. Shout out to the Pac-12, man. It was great. A lot of things passed on. Pac-12 is no longer a thing, and SEC football and CBS. I've been a big college football fan. I think it's one of my favorite sports other than hockey. I love college football, and I think those 3:30 SEC games on CBS are just – I grew up with those. And just knowing that's going away, ESPN, I think it's on ESPN now. It's just – it's sad, but there's a lot of good memories with that CBS SEC 3:30 games. So I was always remembered getting home Saturday and watching those 3:30 games, 3 o'clock. Great broadcast, great team, great energy. So I'm going to miss that. So we're going to preview the New Year's Six Bowl. I'm just going to go through and let you know who's playing who, what's the outcome of that game, what's it going to look like, what game is worth watching, who's going to sit, everything else. So the first one is the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State versus Mizzou. On paper, it's going to be a great game. I think Ohio State's going to have a lot of their guys sit because they have a lot of draftees coming up. Mizzou's going to hang on and want to build a resume for the upcoming season and going into the SEC, for their next year, building off that. So it's going to be a great game on paper. Ohio State's going to have players that are going to want to play and get involved, so I'm looking forward to that game. I think this Peach Bowl game, I think is going to be the best game where people are playing most of their roster. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss versus Penn State, James Franklin. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really going to tune into that. I would really push for you to tune into that game. I think there's going to be a lot more players playing in that game than not. And it's just on paper, it's going to be a great game. Lane Kiffin, love to see him in New Year's Six Bowl. Love to see Ole Miss. And I'm going through these, and other than FSU and Liberty and Oregon, they're all Big Ten / SEC schools. So the college football playoff 12-team playoff next year is going to have a lot of the teams of the two power conferences. So excited for that. FSU Georgia, I think is going to be lopsided. I think Georgia is going to just be PISSED'd, and they're going to take FSU's head off. I think FSU is going to struggle and lose that game. But I also think that don't be surprised if FSU comes out swinging for how mad they are that they're not in it, and this is a mad game. So keep an eye out for that game. I think it's also going to be good. Orange Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, Oregon versus Liberty. Tune in, see what Liberty can do, see if they can hang with Oregon. Will Bo Nix play? I doubt it. Anyone that's a quarterback that's going to the first round, not going to play. So who plays Oregon will be good to know. Rose Bowl, Michigan versus Bama. Right now, Michigan's a +2. I'm taking Bama in that one. We'll kind of just dissect because I don't want to get too far into it. But I like Bama in that matchup. And then Washington versus Texas. I think Washington's a favorite by 4.5. Texas is a favorite with 4.5. Haters on Washington. So Washington's an underdog again. I'll probably take Washington in that game. I think Washington-Bama will be the national championship game, and I think Bama will eventually win it. I think Bama's going to go from 4-1. So the final rankings for the playoffs, which I said probably earlier in the video, but I'll go ahead and go through it again, is Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, and Bama 4. 5 FSU and 6 Georgia, 7 Ohio State. I'm going to put on Twitter the final rankings. The committee does not do them after bowl games, so this is the final one for the year. This is what they'll build off for next season's early rankings, and they'll have that in mind for the coaches poll up until the playoff rankings come out, and the top 12 will be the first one. So I'm not sure if they're doing top 12 in the regular season as soon as the season starts and having the 12 because there's more teams, and you don't need to have that set as late. You can have it earlier, kind of move pieces around. So I'm excited. But I'll post it on Twitter. I don't have the rankings written down. I kind of just want to go over the games. So here comes my resume for FSU. And I truly think the injury to the quarterback, and for those who don't know, the committee holds that to a standard. Do I agree with that? No, but I do get it. If the committee's going to play Bo Nix as Oregon in the Final Four and Bo Nix gets injured, that's a different team from Oregon, so I get it. Am I a fan of it? I'm not. I'm a big college football fan, so I'm not a fan of the whole injury thing, but I get it. You take away FSU's quarterback, they're a different team. You take away Ohio State's quarterback, they're a different team. You take away Georgia's quarterback, they're a different team. It makes sense. Do I think that if they're healthy, they get left out? I don't. I think if FSU has Jordan Travis and no injury, they keep them in the 4, and Bama gets left out. And that kind of conversation would be sparkful. No SEC team. How are you going to take an ACC weak conference team versus a Bama one-loss SEC champion? Would have loved to have seen that kind of scenario, but I do think that the injury took more part of their decision. And I'm not going to sit here behind this mic and say that was the only decision. Do I believe that it had like a bigger pull in what the decision was made? I do. I think it was a factor. Not a major factor, but a middle one. It wasn't like the only factor, but it definitely was on their minds. But FSU, if you dissect FSU as a whole, I think their main flaw is the ACC is not strong. So I guess you could say that you would expect FSU to be 13-0 in that conference. And having games like the Florida game and scoring 16 points in the ACC championship game, mind you, I know they lost their 2 quarterbacks. One for the year, one for the concussion. You kind of look at that as like, well, that's something that, they need. They're going to hang that hat on there. They're going to hang the close games against mid-level opponents in the ACC. They're going to hang the ACC conference isn't as strong as it used to be. It was always Clemson. Now it's FSU this year. They had a third. Their strength of record was third. That helps them. FSU had 8 wins over Power 5 conference bowl eligible teams. So what that means is of the Power 5 conference bowl eligible teams, they beat 8 of them. A plus. Strength of schedule was huge. I think Bama's strength of schedule compared to theirs, I think FSU's is 55. I don't know what Bama's is, but I don't think it's anywhere near 55. Definitely a harder schedule just based on SEC conference in general. ACC conference is way weaker. Some would say it's the weakest. I think the Big Ten is, but that's not what we're here to debate. So, FPI number 5. Bama was number 6 or 4, right neck and neck. I really think they looked hard, and they really, 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 really looked with the injury process, and I really did a deep dive at FSU. Do I think FSU got the raw end of the deal? I do. I would have put FSU in over Bama. Now, I'll be honest, it's hard because it could go either way, to be honest. Either way, you're going to have someone upset. And if you take out the 4 best teams, so let me backtrack. I do think FSU got the raw deal, but do I think Bama's a better team? I do. The most deserving aspect is not part of it in my decision, in my opinion. I think the most deserving team may not be the best team. And I do think that the College Football Committee looks at it like, oh, well, these games are, money makers for us, so we can't afford to have a FSU team get ran over in the game no one's going to watch. So when it comes down to it, I think Michigan deserved to get in. They're 1. Washington deserved to get in, no question. Texas got in, no question. I think the only one was FSU and Bama. Based on Bama's performance all year, the 1 loss, the SEC, playing in the SEC conference. Listen, I know conferences are conferences, but it as much as I hate the SEC, we're number 1 and beat our chest, Bama had a harder schedule. Bama did what they needed to do. FSU coasted by with the injury, everything else. Injury is off the table. Let's see what happens. I still think people will be more upset and more questioning if Bama didn't get in over a 13 FSU team. even depending on how they did in their game with Jordan Travis. But woulda, shoulda, coulda, we'll never know. So to end this kind of conversation, I'm going to go with that my Final Four would have been the same. I would have put Bama in because it's the 4 best teams, and I think Bama here of late is hot to beat the number 1 team. Also, I think adds a factor to FSU's not getting in. FSU played a 16 team and barely beat them. I know they had injuries, but Bama beat the number 1 team. Strong SEC, stronger schedule, more bigger games. So I think this ironed out well. Can I tell you that I'm really excited for 12? I think the 4 has just been so plain vanilla, and they've done it for so long. They should have done 12 sooner. I think 12 is going to be so much more enjoyable, so much more debate, so much more efficiency. I'm excited for it. I cannot wait. So that's what I feel. That's kind of the summary of how I feel with the Final Four. So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope this spikes up comment conversation and see what other people feel and who should have and not got in and who should have, would have, could have this. I want to hear what you all have to think so we can kind of have a discussion about it. On Friday, we're going to shoot an episode, and it's probably going to be a 4-person episode, so look out for that one. And we're going to pretty much talk about this. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the followers. This is episode 20. It's been a blessing for 20 episodes. I'm pretty excited. Tune in Friday for a special first-time 4-person event, college football all day. Hope you have a great rest of your week. It's late Sunday evening, so enjoy your Monday morning. Get started. 110% every day. What do you say? What do you know? Have a good night.